Now that you've found UBN Radio and discovered our quality talk shows, it's time to spread the word to friends, family, and the universe. 24 hours of music and talk. Radio without limits. That's why people keep coming back for more. That's UBNradio.com.
Drop her all at the partition, please. I don't need you seeing your say on her knees.
All right. Wow, what a performance, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Did you watch the Grammys, Kurt?
Of course.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another fun edition of What's Up with Kobylt and Friends. So you did, right? I have to tell you, first of all, we have the esteemed journalist, and he's done so much. He's been the voice of American Idol. His name is Mark Thompson. He is on the way in studio. So once he finally gets here, he was held up in traffic. See what happens in live television, if you will, podcasting, whatever the heck we are.
Gotta roll with it.
You just got to roll with it. So we're saying, what do we do? Do we go on with today, or do we just sort of, tap dance a little? And I can do a mean tap dance, I'll tell you that.
Oh, okay. I would like to see that later.
I'll show you later. And I also have someone, a very esteemed author, calling in. She wrote a book, The Path to Wealth to Financial Abundance, but she's not on the phone either, so I'm not sure. I mean, am I in another time zone today?
Alternate reality.
People were supposed to be calling in. I know my producer had it all lined up beautifully, and I'm sitting here alone on my desk with all my notes. You see?
Well, I'm here with you.
Yeah, you're here with me, and we're just going to roll with it. How about that? Okay.
Sounds good to me.
So there's definitely chaos in the White House. This is a little scary, and for all those of people who were frightened enough having Donald Trump as our president, I would say now is the time to get a little more scared. What do you think about that?
Oh, definitely. I mean, is there anything he doesn't want to do at this point?
Well, General Flynn is out. What a disaster. The guy's in, and before the door even closed, the guy ended up coming out again.
Exactly. And I know the whole talk now is, did Trump know about everything that he did, and what do we go from this point?
If that's the case, look, I'm going to say yes. How there are backdoor meetings that happen. But I don't know. I wasn't in those meetings. I wasn't invited to that one, at least. So I don't know what happened. But it is a little chaotic. You cannot mess around with Russia. You cannot go on with David Muir from ABC News and say that in fact, we have done atrocities as well. I mean, Donald Trump has really got to sort of take a step back, and he sort of has to assess what's going on out there in the world and not make any moves until he sort of understands what he's doing next, don't you think?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, so there's been a lot of chaos. It also, the stock market was up yesterday. We've got, so in North Korea, we had, he was killed in the airport.
Yeah, I know. How does that happen? Exactly. With today's day and age, how do you have someone who
first of all,
passes in an airport?
He's wanted his brother dead for a long time, the leader of North Korea. So you just do it in a public forum, and then, that's what happened there. So between Russia, North Korea, what's going on south of our border, and what's going on in Washington, D.C., I would say politically today, we are a big mess. However, on the phone right now, are you there? How are you doing?
I'm well, and yourself?
Thank you for calling in. How are you?
I'm just great.
May McCarthy. Let's have some applause for May McCarthy. Where are you calling us from, May?
Oh, that is loud.
Whoa, we have an enormous studio audience here today. May, you are the CEO of Biz Zoltz, right? Is that the name of your company, Biz Zoltz?
That's correct.
You have helped start and grow 6 successful companies as large as $100 million in annual revenue. Is that correct?
That's correct.
If you don't mind, I'm hearing a little feedback. Do you have us on behind you, or?
No, I'm on a landline.
You
want
are.
me to try and call back in?
No, that's okay. We'll just keep you on, and I'll have to try to deal with it. Kurt, for some reason, I'm getting a lot of feedback in my head. Do you hear that?
Yeah, I'm going to lower her volume.
Okay, that would be terrific. Okay, so you've written a book, Path to Wealth, 7 Spiritual Steps to Financial Abundance. What does that mean, 7 spiritual steps to financial abundance?
Well, it means that we rely on intuition and our subconscious, which can't be seen. So therefore, it's spiritual.
Well, in other words,
we rely on that for success.
It's that gut instinct, right? If something doesn't feel right, don't do it.
It could be a strong thought to go somewhere or do something. It could be an idea that just pops into your head, an innovative idea. It could be a message that you get from someone else or a sign that you see. But essentially, your subconscious and intuition, which also has helped people like Bill Gates and Steve Jobs and Oprah Winfrey achieve success, it will show up more often in more obvious ways if you stay focused on the goals and the outcomes that you want on a daily basis.
So give us some examples. You've worked with some of the largest companies. What are some of the large companies that you have worked with to bring them up to this level of success?
Well, I can talk about the companies that I've grown.
Okay.
And the companies that I've grown, what I've had my employees do is stay focused on what they want as the outcome in any situation. If there's a customer problem, what do you want the outcome to be? Stop focusing on the problem itself. Well, most of the time you want a resolution. If you want to achieve certain levels of sales growth, focus on that. Start describing your goals as though they're already completed with gratitude. And then what happens is you start to notice possibilities and intuitive messages that will guide you along the way. Probably the most common example of this is when people are buying a car. You know, they think about, they talk about, they review different kinds of cars and models, they narrow it down, maybe they test drive it, and don't they start to see that car driving around everywhere?
That is true. That is true.
So we can do the
Whatever
same
I want
thing for any goal.
That's actually a great visual. I'm someone who needs visuals. So you're right. That does happen to me when I'm looking for another car. But you know, what do you do if you're not someone who naturally knows how to grow a business, for example? What do you do if that's the case?
Well, I've
because
I've used this for health goals, relationship goals, all sorts of stuff.
Let me just stop you for a second, because we're talking a little bit of the financial abundance, success to financial abundance, for example.
Sure.
What do you do if you, just a minute, because my guest, Mark Thompson, thank you for being 15 minutes late to my show.
I'm so sorry. I didn't realize you're going on live. I apologize.
We're on live, and I am, I'm going to call him out. What about that?
Mark.
Thank you so much. We're on Facebook Live. You didn't know that?
I did not know that. I would have dressed the part had I known it.
Oh, I am so sorry, but you're handsome anyway. It doesn't matter.
Well, you're right.
Can I just
but-
call you out for the next? Look, he's been sick. I'll give you about 10% for that.
You should give me more than that because I really am very ill.
Oh my goodness. I'm moving over here.
But-
Okay, right now, just so you know,
I'm being
Mark,
treated by antibiotics and all the rest. But it's great to be here, and I'm catching this sort of midway. So this is someone who can help start a business for me.
And she's, well, and both of us, right? We could learn from this woman. You know what she's saying? Use your intuition.
Mm-hmm.
Get in here, which is true. How many of us don't use our intuition? When something feels right, I try to go with it. But let me just ask you this, but still a lot of us have that intuition. We have a lot of talent. But we might not know how to grow a business. For example, the big buzz nowadays, Mark, you know this, is social media, right? That's all the big thing. Everybody wants to know your numbers. What are your numbers for your social media, your advertising? How would you grow something like this? Because not only can you use intuition, you got to have some business smarts too.
Well, intuition's going to show up when you actually have a goal for it to work on. And what a lot of people do is they don't word their goals properly. At the beginning of the year, I'm often invited by lots of different companies and different groups to come in and speak about resolutions and intentions. And undoubtedly, there's somebody in the audience that wants to lose 10 pounds. It's the first of the year and they want to lose 10 pounds, okay? So they're describing their goal as wanting to lose 10 pounds. So you have to
really identify it. I mean,
you have to describe it as though it's already done. Like in that woman that wanted to lose 10 pounds, my goal statement recommendation for her was, I'm so grateful that I'm physically fit, trim, toned, in an energetic, healthy body that moves through life with energy and vitality. So something that describes it as already done. For business, I'm so grateful that I'm reaching a minimum or more of X number of customers and achieving these kinds of rankings and getting feedback at least once a day that we are helping people to, whatever your mission is. In our company, we had very, very detailed financial goals, and we exceeded every one of them.
I think it's pretty. So you grew. You had 6 businesses essentially that you grew. Again, to over $100 million, isn't that correct, in revenues? That's pretty outstanding.
Yeah.
How do you do? That's what I mean. I might have this vision on what to do. I don't know if I could take it to the next level because I'm not necessarily sure. I'm a visionary, but I'm not necessarily sure I'm the business person to do
Well, right,
that.
and to the point that
You
she's
too?
just making, you have maybe that goal, but the vision to actually get there is the biggest missing piece, right?
You're a talent.
You're talking about practical tools.
Exactly.
Okay, practical tools. And that may be one of the leads that you get from intuition, is to either partner with somebody that has those tools or go get them yourself.
Oh, you poor thing. Let me tell you, I've had what you have. Mark is coughing. I've had it, and I still have it, essentially. I couldn't even walk today.
It's unreal. They gave me this inhaler in case I go crazy with the coughing. It's
Okay,
really
and
bad.
the man still got on the 101 freeway, I guess.
No, it's yeah, but it's
And he
supposed to be.
made
I didn't
his
mean to
way
make it
all the
about
way.
that.
No, but it's true. It's true.
Thank you. So this is interesting. So you need both a goal and a path, a plan.
Right. So in this partnership with your intuition, you're going to do what most business people do every day anyway. We revisit our goals. My point is that we want to describe the goals as though they're complete. This is Business 101, where we are making projections. We're anticipating what the future looks like. And you can use the same technique of describing what it is that you want as though it's already completed, not only in your finances, in your business, but any area of your life. As you do that, what will happen is you will get intuitive messages, and you won't, when you're first starting out, you may question whether or not that's just a random thought or an intuitive hit. But eventually, over time, as you do this every day through repetition, I like to say repetition reaps rewards, but every single morning you're going to have a meeting with yourself and essentially prime your brain for success. You're going to keep your goals at the forefront of your thoughts, and you may find that what you get in terms of intuitive messages to go somewhere or to contact someone is a next step towards achieving your goals. You might think of somebody you haven't thought of in 10 years. You call them up and, oh my gosh, they've got a great lead for you to achieve a next level of growth in your business.
Okay. I mean, I get that, but look, I mean, that's obviously that's what you tell the people that you're working with. It's worked for you. It's worked for them. For me, it's a little bit of a disconnect because I can visualize and I can see what it is that I'm trying to grow and do, but sometimes to get to the next step, I think, so then I have to really think about it and maybe find the right people to help me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially in this age of new media, I'm finding. What do you think? I mean, you've worked in television for so many years, as I have, and new media.
But television is being sort of marginalized in many ways, and now you're really looking at, as you say, the new media. Social media is a new frontier. That opportunity, I think, is offered to a lot of us but it's also, it's like a new race you're running. So you have to kind of know how to get through the forest of obstacles. But maybe that's
I like that, the forest of obstacles.
I mean, it really
that's
is.
a very good one.
It's a new world, So it's a forested world.
It is true, but anyway.
And think about. I mean, I have some friends that have companies that rely heavily on social media for their growth, and when they're quantifying what measurable success they want to have, with gratitude as though they already have it, they do get intuitive insights. They might even see a problem as an opportunity. So it's changing the whole way that you're thinking.
That goes without saying. I try and do that. I mean, there's always a problem, and I always try and look at it as an opportunity, no matter what it is. There's always some way around any problem. So that's a good point. I mean, I like your approach. I really do, May. I appreciate your coming on. Anything you want to add to what May had to say?
No, it's impressive. Is there? Do you watch Shark Tank at all, May?
Don't you love Shark Tank?
I'm actually a mini shark.
So there you go.
I'm what's called an angel investor. So
Oh,
I look
sure.
at about 150 different companies a year as possible investments.
So when you're looking and evaluating a company, what are the first things that you look? The top three things, let's say, that you look at.
Team. If they don't have the team, it doesn't really matter.
Right, you're buying the people. You're buying that team. You're buying the people who have the.
Oh, yeah.
So again, it's not just the idea. You've got to have some kind of vision in place, which just starts with something basic, a team.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
good
And then
one. Next.
what?
Then what? Yeah.
Well, then the idea and market size.
What is
If there's a big enough market for whatever the idea is.
Exactly.
Okay, and then what's the third thing?
And then a number of other elements, including, what's the competition like? And, if they're just another Me Too business and they're trying to go up against, Amazon or Microsoft or somebody, then, what's your differentiator? What's your secret sauce? Why are you better than these people? And what's your strategy to go to market?
So you wouldn't say don't necessarily take on one of the big kids. You just say when you take on the big kid, you better have something very distinctly different about your offering than what the big kid has.
in my last 4 companies, they were software and equipment technology companies. And in 2 of them, we went up against 4 Fortune 20 companies, and the other 2 we went up against 3 Fortune 20 companies and became market share leader for new business in every one of them. So being the small guy is not the problem. Having something that's different, and it can work for you to be a small company because you can out-customer service the larger companies.
Sure.
You can create innovation and be nimble and fast. So I love startups, but you got to have the right team and you got to have the right market and something that differentiates you from everybody else that is going to create a demand if you do a good job.
That's great stuff.
But do you find like that in a lot of the companies that you're looking at, small or large, that their social media following is so important? Because nowadays that's all the buzz that I'm hearing. No matter what anyone does, it's like, what are your socials? What are your numbers? How many hits are you getting? And I think, oh my God, it's almost paralyzing in a way, because sometimes people have to start what they're doing.
Right, a startup doesn't necessarily come to the game with a lot of.
It kind of depends. I mean, if it's a business to consumer business, yeah, social media is really important. But if it's business to business play, it's not as important. Kind of important, but not as important. And a lot of the companies I invest in are business to business.
Yeah.
Thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate you coming on the show. And
May, this is great. Have you got a book? What's the book?
I do. It's called The Path to Wealth.
All right.
And people can get it obviously on Amazon.
If people want to get the first 3 chapters for free, they can go to maymccarthy.com.
I love that.
maymccarthy.com. First 3 chapters for free. That's a tongue twister.
I love
it. Go to your website, and then to purchase the book, head over to Amazon. May, thanks for being on with us. I really appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
Have a good
Bye,
one.
May.
Bye-bye. Bye, May.
Bye now. Hope
Oh
you
my
feel
gosh!
better.
Oh, I am telling you. What do you have? That flu thing that's going
Well, I
around?
had
Oh, it's awful.
I'll just give you a minute on this.
Oh, please.
I
because
go to
this
the
is-
doctor at the very first sign, because I just had pneumonia 6 weeks ago.
Oh, I've been there.
And so pneumonia is pretty serious. They treated it. It cleared. And then I started to feel like I was getting sick again. And I go to the doctor, and he says, you know what? You have the flu. I had the same thing. He looked at me. He said, it's going to be gone by Friday. Okay. Instead, it was worse by Friday. But I thought, but I'm not one of those guys like, oh, give me something, doc, give me something. I thought, I'll tough it out. Not a big deal. So I toughed it out, and by Monday, that's this past Monday, just a few days ago, I was, I was really sick. And I go into the doctor, a different doctor this time, because I was supposed to see him about something else. They thought somebody told me to get a sleep apnea test. Has anybody had these sleep apnea tests where they test you? It's for no good reason.
Please cure me of the flu already.
Yeah, right. Anyway, so I go in for that, but instead, this big problem I had so he said, no, are you kidding? You've got sinus infection, and it's going here and it's going there, and there's blood coming out of this. And
oh my God.
So he gave me all these medicines, and I'm on all these steroids. I haven't slept in like 3 days because it's like, you can't sleep on these steroids, And he gave me the 2 inhalers, blah, blah, blah. So now I'm on the path back. But you can even hear my voice is not back all the way. It's just it's a problem. I'm trying to work through it. I don't like to call in sick, so I'm trying to work through it.
Well, because I have a thing for your voice, right?
And my voice is not here with me today.
Can you do something for me, like welcome? Please, I dream about your voice, Mark Thompson. Well, so can you do a little
welcome?
Tune in to Kobylt and Friends.
Kobylt
can you do
and
that
Friends.
No, like with your voice. You've got the voice. Come on, he's the voice. The voice of American Idol.
Yes.
Can you do something for me? I mean, you've had an illustrious career. That's why I wanted to have you on. Actually, a little bit talk with May and to talk about all the things that you've done.
May was cool. May could have been our gateway to wealth.
We need May to be our gateway to wealth.
Yeah.
Because
but this is a much more sophisticated operation. Let me just say than I thought. I mean,
You mean here?
Yes.
I mean, it's not in your dining room table.
I do a podcast. It's a very distinguished and award-winning podcast. It's called The Edge. You can find it on the big World Wide Web. I don't know if you've been on the internet at all, but it's there at edge-show.com. And we had our top-rated, most downloaded show with someone who Deborah.
It wasn't me.
It was John Kobylt.
I know. Why is it that everywhere he shows up, it's always the top rater, the number one, the number everything?
Unbelievable.
It doesn't happen for me.
Believe
he comes on
the
my show and
numbers.
it doesn't happen.
Day after day, tons of downloads.
No, the man can just be seen going to the bathroom somewhere and the ratings just explode.
I
no matter
think he's
whose
a
show it
brilliant personality.
is.
He may be my favorite personality on that station, and I don't agree with most of what he says.
I don't either.
And
So
yet
how do-
I love listening
Well,
to
because
him.
it's the way he frames it, I have to say. Honestly, he was going to call in. He goes, "Do you need me to come in? Do you need me? You want me on with Mark?" I'm like, "No, just go to work." So,
I would love being on with him.
All right, next time we'll have the three.
But she's mentioning the dining room table because I give guests a choice. They can either go to iHeartRadio, where we have a studio, or you can come to my home, where we do it right at the dining room table.
and we live around the block, essentially.
So
We could
John
just-
came to the house.
Right, we could just hike up to your house.
Yeah, it was
Gorgeous
fun.
place with an incredible view. I should have taken a
Very
picture
nice.
and
Yeah, it's
shown
really nice.
everyone. But right, so you've got a studio set up in your home.
Right,
So
so-
you were expecting something similar.
I thought it would be just more like it'd be more like homegrown. Instead, you've got a guy with a mixing board, and you've got multi-video things, and you got somebody joining by Skype. I didn't even know it was you go up live at 1. So this is very cool.
My people didn't tell you this. I'm sorry about that. I thought you knew that. So that's
and
okay.
you've got people. I mean, I don't have any people. I
yeah,
had
but you're
a-
award winning and I'm not. So there you go. I have people, but I've won no awards with 2 people listening. You have it on your dining room table and already you've won awards. And my husband made you the #1 show.
Your husband, and let me tell you, I
Just do
didn't.
the show about him. Then maybe I'll get better ratings myself.
Last
Come on.
thing about your husband, I'll say on
Why
my
not?
show. We
got a real bromance
First of all, he
going
was
on.
really great talking about his background and everything, which is really interesting.
You know, I'm writing a book about that.
Oh, are you?
How we met in Atlantic City during the early days of Donald
Right.
Trump and
You
when I
were-
met John. And
You were a journalist then.
I was a
mean,
journalist.
different. You're still a journalist, but a different kind of
Right,
journalist.
of course, yeah.
Street
I
reporter,
was,
I mean.
Yeah, I was a street reporter in the hood in Atlantic City, New Jersey, and I've been writing about the early days of my life in New Jersey with my Italian immigrant. Well, they're not immigrants actually, but they might as well have been because they behaved like Italian immigrant parents. Okay.
What does that mean?
Just a lot of cooking all the time and a lot of screaming and yelling about really nothing. I'd say, "Why are you people yelling?" They're like, "We're not yelling." I'm like, "But." It was very confusing. So, the big Italian family out of New Jersey in college and get a little job at a little TV station called TV40 in Atlantic City where Donald Trump is walking around and, he's the man.
Yeah, this was the time when his
Through his bankruptcy.
his brand was really cresting then, though, right?
Well, actually, yes. And then he was.
The Taj Mahal.
But he was filing for bankruptcy.
Oh, at that
so
time
it was during
it was?
then.
Okay.
And I actually got to know him.
So he was on the backside of his brand.
It was on the backside of his brand. I was a young kid and I was getting to know him and he was.
What does that mean, getting to know him?
No, not that way. I talked about this with Jane Wells.
Did he make a play for you?
Okay, maybe I
I'm
should
sure he
This
did.
comes up every week. He did not. And I was an adorable young
Oh
girl
my
in
God,
my early
you're
20s.
You're hot now, but you were incredibly hot as a 20-year-old. Also, I mean,
I was, and I think Donald may have been preoccupied with all the other women in his life. He missed the opportunity. I was busy.
You would have rolled around with him? Is what
No,
you're saying?
no, that's just not my way. I didn't like. No, not really.
Not your.
He wasn't my type.
Right.
But, I would ask some interesting questions, and he would pull me aside out of the other group of journalists, and he'd give me all kinds of good stuff.
Oh.
So, in that way that he sort of...
He saw a little something in Deborah Kobylt.
Deborah Zara at the time.
Deborah Zara.
The Italian girl out of New Jersey. And that's when I met John.
Deborah Z,
Oh, Donald.
Channel 40.
Yeah. Well, I would say that. I'm like, you don't know who I am? You don't watch me on the weekends? Donald Trump? And he'd say, no, but I'm going to. I swear to God. You got to
This is great.
No, it's a great story. And that's how I met John in Atlantic City. He was disheveled, even more than he is now. His hair was kind of out to here. He was yelling and screaming. And our first meeting was on the radio, in fact. We were on the radio. He called me in from another room because he saw me, having the little TV meeting. And he goes, bring her in here. We have it. And we played for our friends all the time.
Oh, that's great.
They're like, who are you? And I'm thinking, never want to miss an opportunity to promote myself. I'm Deborah Zara. I do the weekends. So it was quite funny. And he, when I left the studio, he was the same even then. He was yelling, he goes, bring her back. Same crazy ass guy then as he is now.
He's just out of his, but he's out of his mind. He does some things that are very effective.
You think? He's deposed 2 governors, whether you agree with it or not. He's got a powerful show, let's face it.
He's very, and his activism is when applied to something that you agree with, it's a great thing to have behind you. When it's applied to something that you don't necessarily agree with, then you think, oh my God, I have to swim upstream against that. It's pretty hard to fight.
You can't swim upstream against that. I live with it.
Yeah.
And politically, we differ.
Do you guys talk politics, or does it just kind of?
We will start to spar over it, especially recently. We went to the inauguration. I wasn't planning to talk about this. I was going to talk about
No,
you.
this is great, though. So you went to the inauguration.
Why don't you have me on your show to talk about me?
I'd love to.
I want to talk about you. You're more interesting than me. Well, maybe not.
All right.
But
anyway, I didn't go to the inauguration. So tell me, you went to the inauguration, but you're saying he agrees with Trump's politics. You do not.
So he somewhat feels that we needed a stronger hand politically, internationally. I believe that a hand perhaps, but not a sledgehammer.
Right.
So we disagree, and I have 3 boys, and they side with me. So we have interesting dinner conversations, to say the least.
Well, it's nice to know you have it, but you have a flank to fight John at the dinner table.
They'll just get up and leave because they're really not that interested when it comes to. They're kids. They're not going to sit there at the end and go, well, and what he did today. Except maybe my middle kid. He's super into politics, and he's a pretty liberal kid. So
isn't that great? I mean, it's great. I'm a big lib, so.
Yeah, but you can have friends who are conservative and uber liberal, and
I grew up in Washington D.C. and let's get back into it. It was like the McLaughlin group at the dinner table every night.
What were your parents like? What was your family like?
I think they're middle of the roaders, you know what I mean? But my dad worked for the government. My mom was a school teacher, and she taught she was National Cathedral School, and she taught all the vice president's kids and blah, blah, blah. They're all these kids have to go to school. Remember, the kids of these politicians have to go to school somewhere. So they went.
Did you go to school with them?
My mom's school, yeah, and I went to school with them too. Vice president's kid was my friend, and
who was the VP at the time? Sorry,
Mondale.
Oh, wow.
So it was a long time ago.
And
but the point I'm trying to make is that we all talked politics and disagreed, sometimes quite vehemently, but not in this name-calling way. Plus, there's something that's just happened, and I've just really noticed it in social media, and that is, the Republicans or the GOP feels this, and blah, 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 blah. The Democrats feel...
Bigger divide than ever.
No, but I've never seen sort of everybody lumped into the same group, like the GOP thinks monolithically. Now, I understand in this moment in time, on Capitol Hill in Washington, the GOP seems to be acting as one because they have an agenda they're trying to push through. But I'm a registered Democrat, although the Democrats, I don't agree with a bunch of stuff. I don't agree with this corporatocracy that's taken over the Democratic Party. But having said that, I had to register as a Democrat, otherwise I can't vote in the primary. That's what the primary process is set up. So it's kind of like I hold my nose and register as a Democrat. Having said, so I resent the idea that, you Democrats, blah, blah, blah. Hey, I'm a Democrat. I don't agree with 90% of, either the way something's getting done or the thing that's getting done. So I feel as though in addition to the name calling, it's this red versus blue. And it's just seen as red and blue with no shades of rouge and no shades of blue.
And the lake is just getting wider and wider, the swamp in the middle, right?
Awful.
You've got the red, the blue, and the swamp is just growing bigger and bigger. Now, didn't you also, you were schooled also at Oxford?
Yes, I was.
I loved it when I read that. I said,
I bring a certain sophistication to a lot of the conversations that we might have as a result of my Oxford upbringing.
No, that's very impressive.
Yes,
come on, to have been schooled there, and then you graduated from Colgate.
You had to take an exam at Oxford to use the library.
That's
what I remember. Yep, they have something called the Bodleian Library.
So if you didn't
Mark,
pass
there are a limited number of openings at the Bodleian Library.
And did you pass the
If you'd
exam?
like to attend, we have 70 openings. Unfortunately, there are 125 applicants. So you have to take this test.
So if you didn't pass the exam at Oxford just to study in the
Couldn't
library,
use the library.
What, you ended up just
Just
studying on the lawn or something?
It was a meaningless thing. I mean,
Pretentious.
It was pretentious but there are some things that are pretentious and cool, and this might have been one of those. Because you go in, it's kind of like the Library of Congress. You get in there, really, at the end of the day, it's just like a library.
Isn't it true?
But when you look around, it's like, wow, this is the Bodleian Library, and look at all the stuff here. Now you get the Bodleian Library just on your phone. But anyway.
So let's talk a little bit about all that you've done. I know met you from back at Fox 11 here in Los Angeles.
23 years every night. Now I still do stuff for them, but not every night.
You do. I mean, you're sort of everywhere. Your voice is everywhere. You've been the voice of American Idol. Please, can you just do a little intro for
That was
me?
sort of last night they sang their hearts out. Tonight, one goes home. Who stays? Who goes?
Oh.
Find out tonight, live on American Idol. And then bring the music up.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. Very big.
Oh,
Thank you.
please, can you
Thank
say something to me with that voice? Whatever you want. I told you I wanted to
And I haven't really brought the real voice, but
make it up.
ladies and gentlemen, she's done it all. Donald Trump's favorite. This is Deborah Kobylt and Friends. Is that what it's called, Deborah Kobylt and Friends?
Kobylt and Friends, but I'm actually
Kobylt
thinking
and
of
Friends.
changing it because we're kind of in the process of rebranding, and we're trying to figure out who we are, and then we'll rebrand it once I figure that out.
Yeah. So what do you do? You meet with branding people? See, you're a
No.
big operation. You must have branding
Hey,
people.
I got people. Like I said, I got people with no awards. You got no people with all the awards. I'm not sure. I mean, just a couple of people have approached me and said, why don't we try and rebrand you and maybe just use your name as opposed to Kobylt and Friends. I don't know. Does Kobylt and Friends sound like a Barney
It
show?
sounds
or-
friendly. No, it sounds friendly.
You know,
it sounds warm.
Really? So, well,
But if
okay.
you maybe don't want that, maybe you want Kobylt. Kobylt gets to the bottom of the story.
I don't know. It depends upon what as a reporter, and you know this, you wear a different hat every day.
Sure.
If you're going out and you're doing a hard driving political story, got to put that hat on, right? And then if you're going and, God forbid, you're doing a funeral or something, you have to be a little softer and more refined. If you're going and doing a red carpet something that night, you bring it out. So you really have to wear many different hats. So I don't know what I am. I'm trying to figure it out because on a podcast, you really need to know that. You've got
That's
to really
a
hone
real,
in on it.
a problem because it's true. I face the same thing. Just to and maybe people in the audience know what we're talking about in this sense. You are told the best way to get ahead with a podcast is to
Niche.
pick a niche, pick a lane, and be the best at talking about hairspray or cosmetics
I'm telling
or travel or whatever. And that's probably true. But to people, I'm going to guess, and I don't mean to be presumptuous, but I will speak for myself, and then I'm going to fold you in because I kind of get this from you.
Oh, speak
People
for
who
me.
have general interest, like I have interest in a lot of different things.
I'm like a talk show person.
Yes, and you're the same way, I think. It's sort of, we don't want to pick a lane. We want to pick a bunch of lanes.
I know. So can't we have podcast talk shows? I'm like an Ellen or a Chelsea Handler because I
Right.
have sort of that edge to me. You know,
Wow.
I just sort of look at everything a little crazy. So
Anyway,
you get what I'm saying.
I sympathize with your plight.
So then what I've decided to do is just narrow it down a little bit. What are my real interests? And maybe just break it up into different little segments. So that's another way to go. So, but yeah, Kobylt and Friends for now is just fine.
That's cool.
So how are you enjoying? So you've been a weatherman, a newscaster,
Right.
the voice of so many.
Yep.
Is there any and red
Oh,
carpet?
by the way, I have to tell you this. This is wild. I
Ooh.
can't believe I didn't tell you this. Because you're in the middle of your interview.
No.
I-
Hardly, whatever this is called. I don't know what is this
I
thing.
have to do. For years, like literally, I'm going to say 7 years, something like that. I did a ton of primetime shows, narration, most shocking, most daring, world's scariest police shootouts, world's scariest police chases, when good times go bad, when good pets go bad, when animals attack, etc. All of them
When
were
animals
done right here where I'm sitting, almost literally. It was just down
At the
hall.
Sunset Gower Studios?
Yes.
At
Just
my
down-
studio. Yeah.
Just down this hall, there's a guard. Then if you go to the other side, that's where I did everything.
Oh, really? So
And
you
it
knew
was
where to go.
so I'm driving here,
Old stomping grounds.
but it's gotten so much more difficult to like get on the lot and everything than it used to be.
Yeah, I don't know where you parked, but I mean, I end up street parking because I can never. If I go in the lot, I'll never come out. It's like I just get lost when I
It
go.
was
in
a
this,
dingy, broken down place back then, and they were just beginning to improve it. And then they made these improvements, and those were just finishing as I was finishing. Our last episode of, I did a show called Top 20, which still runs, I think, on.
so you must be getting some pretty big residual checks, Mr. Mark Thompson.
I think they bought that out, or you run out after a while. But I do know that but those shows were running all the time for a while. And anyway, they were all done right here. That's why I mentioned it. It was really a cool experience to come back on the lot.
Do you get residual checks? I mean, I've done a big time movie, and I'm still getting my residual check from Nightmare on Elm Street. The last one.
You don't remember what number it was?
The last one, Wes Craven's New Nightmare. I am
Perhaps
still
you remember
getting.
my work in Nightmare on Elm Street. The last one.
I am still waiting for my James Bond moment. I'm telling you, it's going to happen. And why are you laughing? This is actually going to be happening. But until then,
You have to remember the name of the movie you were in. That's why I'm laughing.
Wes Craven's New Nightmare, the last one. Yeah, yeah. That's what it is. But look at you. You've done a bunch of movies here.
Yes,
You're still getting
I have.
residual checks for all that stuff.
Yes, I have to compare. Well, let's compare a residual check sometime. I have
Please. I just got one.
Air Force One.
Whoa, you were in Harrison's movie? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
He's a friend. He's a great guy.
Oh, is that right?
He had a bit of a tough day the other day, but I'm not going to talk about it because we don't go there.
Well, I think
that's one of my favorite movies, by the way, that he's
Yeah.
done. I'm not going to say. I know how he enjoyed or didn't enjoy doing that movie, but it's one of my favorites. I'll tell you.
well,
that.
I loved it. He didn't dig it that much, huh?
No, he did. He's a good guy.
Well,
but
he must have not liked it, otherwise you wouldn't mention it. Anyway, the point is, Air Force One was a great film. He was great in it. Gary Oldman was in it as well, and Glenn Close, was it, or who was it? Yeah, Glenn Close was the vice president.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But that's a good one. People probably still, whatever, call it up, order it up. I don't know
Well,
what
the
they
one
do.
that I get reaction from still is The Day After Tomorrow.
Yeah, I see that right here.
Yeah, that was because there's a sequence where I'm
And the
saying
American-
something like, this is the worst. The climate is erupting, and this is the worst atmospheric clash that we've ever had. Bob, if this all comes to pass, the East Coast may not see the light of day by Sunday. That kind of thing, So it was. That was
impressive.
fun. That was fun.
That's very impressive. So what do you get
So
for
I'm there in
something
front of the
like
chroma key, and it was kind of fun because it was just me, Roland Emmerich, who was the writer, was the director, I should say, and the writer of the film too. So
what kind of loot do you get? I mean, I
I
get
don't know.
checks. Oh, please, I'll tell you.
Okay, I got $425,000, I think, off that.
What? I got a residual check in the mail the other day for $10.18.
I just made the number up 'cause I knew
$10.18.
I knew it would shock her if I gave a big number.
No, because I'm amazed at these residual checks. Keep them, okay? If they're going to be 18 cents or $10.12 until my James Bond moment comes, keep these little checks. I don't need them.
I'm happy to take $18. It's real money.
No, but I mean,
I know what you're saying, that they're so small. But here's
no,
what
18 cents half the time. I mean, they're really, really
But
tiny.
here's what I look at.
Yeah.
It's 18 cents, and I'm thinking, wow, Harrison Ford is getting a check the same day, and his is a lot of money.
Yeah.
I mean, these are the big, big checks up the line.
But cumulatively with television, I can imagine you're getting checks just from the voice work that you've done and
Honestly,
from TV
it was
work.
hard for me to take a break from at the house. I just really retrieve checks all day, and I had to take a break from that to come here. So I'm glad you've mentioned it. I pay somebody, but I'm making so much it doesn't matter. Paying somebody to retrieve the checks while I'm here.
But point being, in this arena, right? I mean, people do so much. You're doing a movie. You're a weather guy. You're a voice man.
It's a gig economy. I think it really is for all of us.
It's not so easy. And, sometimes you talk to people who aren't in the business and you say, oh, yeah, I did that. Or, oh, yeah, I've been there. And, oh, yeah, I met him. And people look at you like, seriously? But it's true. We get to live 9 lives sometimes with some of the things that we get to do and the people we get to meet and the places we go, don't you think?
Yeah.
In that way, I find it to be a privilege because we get to see sort of the underbelly of how things work.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I think that this, for example, I'm intrigued that you met Harrison Ford and you know him and he's a friend of yours. You guys met at a restaurant in Brentwood or something? Because that's where they live.
Yeah, well, again, they live right in the community, as you know.
Right.
Kids in school.
Oh, I see. Sure.
Just a bunch of moms and dads just sitting around complaining about the school administration. No, I'm just kidding.
No, and that's what there are a lot of people who cross-pollinate that way in Hollywood. They are.
where their
My
kids go to
buddy's Jack
school.
Nicholson is his buddy, not because of anything. Then they got to sit there and they got to watch their kids play soccer.
Yeah, and then you just sort of commiserate over that, and you come over and have the soccer team party, and then the end of school year, and before you know it, you end up with friends with certain people that you have stuff in common with. That's just how it is. So and I have got 3 kids, so you can imagine it just keeps going here in Hollywood.
After a big incident like the Harrison Ford plane thing, do you text them and say, "Hey, I'm glad everything's okay," or do you kind of leave it alone?
If you're a really good friend, you'll text them.
Yeah.
I'll throw out a text and just say, "Everybody okay?" Just nice and simple. In other words, I heard, I get it, I know what's going on. If you need anything, I'm here to pick up.
Right.
That's the
cool.
implication. That's
cool.
what it is.
Yeah,
so that's
cool.
what you do. You don't want to bother people. anyone that who might want to ask a question, they're cut right off. Not interested in going there. You
wouldn't want to say, if you need anything, I'm here for you. And by the way, the podcast tapes at 1 o'clock tomorrow.
Never even asked for an autograph. No. Do you know how many relatives I have in Jersey? Those Jersey people that circle it back who are like, "Can you get me an autograph?" I'm like, "No, I won't do it. I won't do it."
My ex married a very famous baseball player.
Oh,
and
we love baseball.
We were coming for
and I
Thanksgiving, and I did that. I said, "You guys are welcome. I can't wait till you get here, and please have him bring a Sharpie." But no one asked. Maybe a couple people asked him for autographs, but otherwise it wasn't.
In a way, that's a little different. I can't explain it. I think they're kind of used to it. They'll do it, especially when they're not playing ball.
Yeah.
But I think actors in particular are just so bothered wherever they go. They can't even go watch their kid play ball or go to the grocery store.
Yeah.
They're bombarded because everybody knows who they are. Not everybody knows who perhaps a sports figure is.
Yeah,
but,
certainly you're right. At that level, Harrison Ford or whomever, those people are so big that they are bombarded.
Yeah, but maybe next time he's over, I should say, "Oh, could you sign this because we need some paperwork for the teacher," and then I'll keep it. And
I bumped into Henry Winkler the other day at the grocery store, and I had that moment because I'd hung out with him and talked to him like on different projects that I've been involved in. But I don't think Henry Winkler, if you walked in here, would know my name. Just to be honest, I think he might recognize that he knows me. But I don't think so I always introduce, I go, "Hey, Henry, Mark Thompson, good to see you again." And then I thought I'd better fill in the blank as to where I'm from.
Does he remember? Of
course.
Yeah, no, he was remember you.
It's not like that. They're gracious, so who even knows if he really remembered? But he was really gracious. Going, "Oh, Mark, how you been? What are you doing? Blah, blah, blah." But my point is that you wonder, somebody like that, whether it's a nuisance, whether it's a pleasure, whether,
somebody like him who hasn't been out there in a while, it's a pleasure. I'm sure of it. They're like, "Oh my God, I'm recognized again." Good guy though. Well, we have to wrap it up. Oh my goodness, we actually have to wrap it up.
It's been so much fun.
No, but there's so much stuff I really wanted to get
That's
to.
This is all part of my plan to come back and
Would
to
you
force
come back?
a return visit. Yes.
Because you're such a terrific talent. Just very quickly, if you don't mind, again, can you tell us about your podcast very quickly, the name of it, how
I'd love for people
to.
It's not as elaborate as this. There's no video, but that's the good thing. You can listen to it while you work out or you run or in the car.
When I'm on it, I'll just be hanging out by your dining room table.
Yes, you can. You don't have to dress up at all. You can check out the show. John Kobylt, our most downloaded show, is up there. Right now, Captain Paul Watson, Defender of the Seas, who defends the oceans against poachers and all kinds of illegal fishing that's going on all around the world, that's up there. But there
I'd like to have
conversations with comedians and conversation. I really think you'll enjoy it. Anyway, it's at edge-show.com. It's called The Edge with Mark Thompson. It's also on iTunes, Overcast, and Stitcher, and all the rest. The Edge.
Are you enjoying it? Don't you love doing it? It's very free-forming, right? Yeah. You just can kind of do what you do, and it's very enjoyable. I actually love it. I feel it's great big new way of doing media.
Yeah, and it's also, no one's there telling you, Deborah, do a little bit more of this or do a little, you shape your own destiny here, which is really cool.
Did you ever think of putting it on video as well?
I just started thinking about that. Maybe when you guys aren't using the studio, I can come in here.
You should come back in here. We'll have you back in.
I really love this setup, but this is expensive. I don't have that kind of money.
We'll talk about it. Anyway, everybody, thanks for tuning in. I was actually going to get to some of the Grammy stuff, which I didn't really get to. So, Kurt, we'll talk about that next week. Just save my pictures. And I went to the gifting suite over at the Staples. What a cool place. And I met all these incredible...
You went over to the gifting suite. How did that happen?
You know me. I get invited everywhere. I mean, come on, But it was... And I got to see, like, the stuff that they get Beyonce and all those people. So I wanted to talk about that, too. So
I want to talk about that. I didn't know that was the option.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll do that next week. Everybody, thanks for tuning in.
You have some websites, too, you want to talk about for donating.
Yes, please. Would you put that up for me, please?
Of course.
Bruno Cerati, White House Restaurant, Anaheim White House Restaurant, which burned down over a week ago. KFI in particular, they're going to be doing a fundraiser, and if you can't get there on Monday, what is the website there, if you can read it out to me?
GoFundMe.com/Anaheim White House.
Thank you so much for reminding me. And also this past weekend, I did a run for the Upward Bound House. Shout out, homerunforkids.com if you want to donate. Thanks for tuning in. See everybody next week. Another fun edition, and thank you, Mark Thompson, for coming in, being sick,
Deborah.
And being a real pleasure
Thank you.
to have on. Kobylt and friends. See you next week.